What is going on, everyone? My name is Dane, and thank you for tuning into this video where we discuss what is the other side. So that's right, folks. Let me be the first ones to introduce you to the other side. So we are sitting on the homepage right now, otherside.xyz. First thing I'm going to tell you when you're checking out projects, anything NFT Web3 related, double check your links. Double check your links, folks. But this video, it's going to be your basic 101 entry-level video into the other side and what this metaverse is exactly. And we can't get too deep into this because, hey, everyone at this point is still a little bit unsure of what exactly the entire experience of the Otherside metaverse is going to look like. But let's just take a quick step back and talk about metaverse and what the heck is a metaverse. To me, the metaverse is a virtual world. That is simply all it is. It's a virtual world where people can go to connect with each other. So this could be for business purposes where you're just holding an online meeting in a virtual space where people can come together. It could be used for gaming. It can be used for creation. It could just be used for maybe going to a virtual concert. But at the end of the day, it's an online metaverse. So this is a place where you're going to go to interact with people and take advantage and experience projects, creators, and what other people have created within these metaverses. And there are multiple metaverses already out there, but how many are actually playable is somewhat limited. I think the biggest one, and one that I actually cover on my YouTube channel, is going to be called the Sandbox. And the Sandbox is very similar to the other side in the sense that you have all these individual plots of land, and on these plots of land, users or the owners of these, whether that's a gaming company, whether that's some NFT project that's just based on actual art and they want to display it, whether it's an NFT that I actually own and I want to create some sort of experience on it, that is exactly what these are, and that's what the Sandbox is. The Sandbox is been around longer than the other side. They actually have a token established, the Sandbox token, the Sandbox coin. Otherside has theirs as well, which we'll get into. But the only reason I mention the Sandbox is because I do talk about the Sandbox on my page. I do own some land in the Sandbox. And they are, I would say, I'm not going to say leading the pack, but they are one of the market leaders in terms of having a playable metaverse out there that has different types of experiences. But enough of that. Let's talk about the other side. And we are on the website right now. I'm just using my scroll wheel to generate that awesome graphical experience right there that hops us right in to being able to play the trailer for the other side. I'm going to let you guys go search that on YouTube. Maybe I'll throw a link up here in the corner so you can actually watch this trailer, but I don't want to take up too much time as we got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. I don't want to waste your time. I want to make the best use of it. So what are we going to be going over today? First of all, I want to cover what the other side is, at least what we know at this time. I just want to talk a little bit of the backstory of when it was released, who it was released by. I want to go into how you're going to be able to participate in the other side at this time. And then finally, I want to go into the actual NFTs, the actual plots of land, what those look like and what comes with them at this point. So let's hop right into it. But before we do that, as always, if you enjoy this content, if you get anything out of it, smash the like button. Even if you don't like it, hit subscribe, come back, check out my channel. I got a lot of different content, from do-it-yourself videos to real estate, which is my bread and butter of what I do day in and day out. And we have our Web3 crypto NFT content as well. So let's hop into the other side. So let's just start scrolling through the website. What we will do is go over the LitePaper. I am not going to read this word for word. That's something you can do, but I am going to hit on some of the main topics on the actual LitePaper, and we're going to walk through that together and just dive into what I know at this time. If you ever want to add any comments or anything, make sure you throw that down in the comments section so we can actually deep dive and answer all these questions and learn about this place together. So if we scroll down a little bit on the homepage here, you can get a brief little explanation that talks about it's an interoperable metaverse. You are live, you are standing there with somebody else, you're able to communicate with audio, and it's all real time, people playing this, the very common term MMORPG together, a massive multiplayer online role-playing gaming experience. So this is Web3 enabled virtual world, which we already covered, talking about what the metaverse is. Currently, to actually get into the other side, which is on a limited beta testing basis, you are going to have to actually own one of these Othersides, the actual NFT, to be able to hop in. The idea, though, will be for this to be playable by people that don't just necessarily own the NFT, but the people creating these experiences that we mentioned are going to be the holders of these NFTs. So what you're looking at on this screen right here, scrolling across the top, is what your actual placeholder image would be looking like for the actual NFT that you own for the Otherside. And I know I haven't mentioned NFT. I'm just assuming most people watching this video are aware of what NFTs are, but just in case you're not, it is a non-fungible token. It is a digital asset that gives you ownership that's verified through a blockchain across the web. First things first, let's cover what the Otherside is. I think it's important to have a backstory and an understanding of where the development of this came from, what really sparked the Otherside. And to begin, I think we have to bring up a very popular NFT project, probably I would say the second most successful NFT project. I'd actually maybe venture to say the first, because of the awareness that it's brought to the NFT space more than the other project, which would be CryptoPunks. So I'm going to hop over to OpenSea right now. OpenSea is a marketplace where you're able to buy, exchange, and, well, not even exchange, where you're able to buy and sell NFTs on multiple chains, Ethereum being the most popular chain right now that NFTs are on. But you can see here, I have this already set to the top collections all time. I didn't narrow this down to the past 30 days, just all time. So you can get an idea of how big the Otherside and the people backing the Otherside really are. So I mentioned to you the Bored Ape Yacht Club. You can see right here, just in total volume since inception, Bored Ape Yacht Club is sitting here in the number 2 spot. You can see here Mutant Ape Yacht Club, which is also part of the same umbrella of Bored Ape Yacht Club. You have the Mutant Ape Yacht Club. You have Otherdeeds for Otherside, which is what we're talking about today. You can see what their total volume is. And if you look over here on the right, you're going to see the actual quantity of these NFTs. Some of them are more limited than others, but you can see the Bored Ape Yacht Club is a collection of just under 10,000 Bored Apes. The Mutant Apes come in at around 20,000, and then you have these Otherdeeds, which are sitting at 100,000, with potentially another 100,000 more. If we want to scroll down a little bit more, you can see there's the Sandbox sitting at number 10 that I've already mentioned to you, which is a metaverse project. So it's kind of crazy for you to look at the 159,000 total Ethereum transacted versus the 545 for the Otherside, and the Otherside has hardly had any actual playability up to this point. So it just shows the hype that's behind it right now. Sandbox is sitting right now at 120,000 lands, and that number is going up, although there is a stopping point. Right below Sandbox, you can see Meebits listed, and the reason I bring up Meebits is because right now, Meebits and CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, and Bored Ape Kennel Club, which I'm not sure where they're at on here. They're not in the top list, not at least in the top 20, I don't believe. But those projects are all together under the Yuga Labs umbrella. Then you have the Otherside, which is part Yuga Labs, part Improbable. So these are the teams that are putting together the Otherside. But I want to hop back over to the actual website. I wanted to show you those stats on OpenSea so you get an idea of how big these projects are in the NFT space, Web3 space as a whole. So the Otherside was released back at the end of April 2022. So we're coming up almost on a year that this project has been out, or that it was announced. There has been one opportunity up until today, the day I'm recording this, to actually go in and experience what the Otherside is, or what they have built up until this time. It was a, let's just call it a beta test, where it happened it was less than 2 hours. Users, holders of these Otherdeeds, got to hop in and experience this for the first time. And today, which is March 25th, it is a Saturday, starting here in roughly 30 minutes, it is going to be what they call the second trip, that first trip being the one I just mentioned to you. And this second trip is going to allow holders to hop in starting at 11:30 And at 12 o'clock, it's going to be 4 teams, and everyone's going to be running around experiencing and seeing the new changes that Otherside has had. So make sure you check out that next video on my channel here after this one so you can get an idea and a little bit of taste of some live action gameplay. But back in April, beginning of May last year, that is when you were able to officially mint an Otherside deed. And when I say able to mint, you were able to mint one of these right here, what you're looking at, some of these items. And these are just random placeholder images. But if you are an owner, and what I'll do is I'm going to click up here on the top right of the web page under My Otherdeeds, so you can see these right here are deeds that I have purchased. These are NFTs. These are the placeholder images. They don't move. They don't do anything. It's just an image that talks about the resources, the features, the attributes that come with your NFT. So they minted this project, and there was a heads up. People were aware for, I want to say it was up to a month or two, that they were going to be releasing these other deeds. They had a KYC verification process, know your customer process, so that anyone that was buying these was going to be recorded. It was going to be logged. And one thing that happened before these came out is any of the actual Bored Ape Yacht Club owners, any of those 10,000 Bored Apes, they were airdropped 10,000 ApeCoin, and we'll go over what ApeCoin is here in a second. And then preceding that airdrop, the mint was coming up for the Otherside, and you were able to mint using ApeCoin. And you were able to mint one of these other deeds if you were a Bored Ape yacht owner with only having to pay gas. And that is an interesting conversation right there because of what happened during this mint. It's a little bit controversial, but in terms of the actual mint of 100,000 of these plots, 10,000 of them were reserved for Bored Ape Yacht Club members. Then you had the 20,000 Mutant Ape Club members, which were able to also mint 20,000 of these. And then you had a remaining 70,000 that was split up between Improbable / Yuga Labs holding back X amount to release to people over time. And then you had the actual public mint as well, which people could come in and publicly mint these on that first come, first serve basis, and having had done the KYC verification. So what ended up happening, I'll throw a quick little snippet of what this experience was like up on the screen. I did not get a chance to get one of these. I don't know how it slipped by me. I had no idea this was being released. By the time I learned about it, the cutoff period had already happened for that KYC, which they had cut that off weeks before the mint was happening. So I had no way to get one besides the secondary market. And let me just tell you, I am super grateful and happy that I did not participate in the actual mint, because from my understanding, it was crazy. It made gas, gas is what you pay for a transaction to happen on the chain that you're on. So this is Ethereum based. So Ethereum has gas that you pay per transaction, and this gas can be anywhere from usually a couple dollars upwards to maybe $20. That's kind of what an average transaction costs people. During the time of this mint, Ethereum was priced very high, and all of a sudden what happens is as the network gets busier and more transaction requests come through, all of a sudden what you see is the gas price rising. And gas price, the term is GWEI, whatever you want to call it. There is a number associated with that. So the lower the GWEI number, the lower the gas you know you're going to pay. Well, what happened was so many people were trying to mint these that it made gas skyrocket. And people that, let's just say Bored Ape members who did not have to mint in that first day, people that were rushing to mint were paying gas in excess of 1 Ethereum for a transaction. That's right, not the purchasing cost, but just the cost to have the transaction go through. And if you didn't want yours to possibly get stuck, you need to put yours into high priority and maybe pay a little bit more. So the example you're looking at on the screen right now is somebody that was only minting 2 of these, and it cost them over 2 Ethereum, over 2.5 Ethereum to mint these. So just to acquire this, people were paying thousands of dollars. That might sound crazy to some of you out there, especially when you look at what the price of Ethereum is now. But as we record this, Ethereum's sitting at around the $1,700 mark for a single Ethereum. So not even the people that were having to actually pay for this, they not only had to pay for it with some ape coin that they might have acquired to purchase one of these, but they're also having to spend that money on gas. And now when you look at what the price of an Otherdeed is, right here you can see this is the floor price. This is the lowest you can pick one of these up for right now. That's roughly 1.5 Ethereum. So that comes out to right now about what, $2,400 is what one of these costs. Well, if we were looking at Ethereum based on the same value it is right now, then you would be buying an Otherdeed for roughly what it was costing people to acquire one of these just in the transaction cost. So that just shows how crazy it was. And I say that's controversial because a lot of people talk about how much Ethereum was wasted in that week-long period, especially those first 48 hours when the craze of this was happening and people wanted to pick these up. And people were wanting to pick these up because a Bored Ape at the time could have been worth over $100,000. Bored Apes were a project that started out under Ethereum, and now, right now, at this moment, Bored Ape Yacht Club, as you guys saw, sits around 60 Ethereum right now, 62 Ethereum to acquire one of these. So you're sitting at about 100,000 right now to buy one of these. So people wanted to hop onto the Otherside train, knowing that if a project such as Bored Ape Yacht Club was releasing something like this, there's a good chance it's gonna have some value to it. And we've never seen up to this point, even in a bear market, in our current bear market, we have not seen the Otherside plots go lower than about 1 Ethereum. It might have crossed just below that, but really they've hovered around that 1.5 to 3 Ethereum for the past year. That's where the pricing has been, more closer to what you're looking at right now, this 1.5 Ethereum. So I want to hop over here to the LitePaper because I talked about the time frame of when this was released, so you guys can see now it's been out for just under a year. And we mentioned Yuga Labs and Improbable. So who is Yuga? That information is sitting right here in front of you guys on the screen. I will increase the size of this a little bit, but you can see here Yuga Labs and Improbable. So Improbable is different than Yuga Labs. Obviously, they got a nice connection now, but Improbable actually focuses on building these virtual metaverse worlds for other companies. And you can see here they've been partnered with over the past 11, 12 years. They have been partnered with other game companies globally. You can see here 2K, Activision Blizzard, EA. So, not small names that they've worked with. But now it says they are set to play a pivotal role in the next wave of Web3 businesses and massive live interactive events, which is what we're going to be doing today, an interactive event. And then you have M Squared, also part of this, but you can see here M2 supports over 10,000 live participants with customizable avatars and advanced immersive audio in real time in the same space. So they're the ones that help make sure that everything is operating seamlessly within this big metaverse. I want to cover a few things in the LitePaper that I think are worth noting, worth looking at, that are going to help you on this journey here and deciding if Otherside is for you. What they are telling us is that this LitePaper is really just the preliminary document before the actual codex and the Codex Volume 2. It's basically a stepping stone, they're calling it. It's going to be what talks about what's evolving. It's going to always give us the most up-to-date information, announcements, and all of that related to the gameplay, development, and that sort of thing. We've already talked about what the Otherside is, so we're going to skip right over this. We understand that it is a digital metaverse. So phase 1, they're saying, is the beginning of the development of the Otherside. Hopefully that doesn't mean we're on this multi-year journey till we actually have a publicly playable game, but phase 1, they're saying, is where we're going to have this. It says 11-part storyline, and it's such as this second trip where we're getting to participate in these experiences. And they're also saying that part of this journey is going to involve us or creators creating experiences for other people to be playing as well. So that will be interesting to see at certain stage of these phases how much development from other people outside of Improbable are going to get to help shape this and what they're going to let us do. All right, the next section talks about principles. So what the goal is for the community, what the goal is of Otherside. Like a lot of projects, they're going to say that the community is a driving factor, force behind these projects, which it should be. Hopefully they'll be able to take the user base and the people that come in and just listen to the feedback from what happens during these experiences and just grow the actual platform from there. You're going to see this SDK and ODK mentioned a bunch. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, and then you have Otherside Development Kit. So that's probably going to be their in-house game builder platform that they use. So you'll see a lot of throughout the LitePaper the mentioning of SDKs, and that's really what the kit is, what the software is that helps you design these worlds, the gameplay, the experiences. So if you are a programmer, a designer, somebody like that, maybe not any of those, and you have any interest in creating content for the other side, I feel acquiring one of these NFTs and then applying to get these development kits could be very beneficial to you in the long term. That's just my personal opinion. It's not financial advice. Coming down here under principles, we got genuine ownership, interoperability. The NFT represents more than a simple picture of land, which we talked about. You have that picture of land, which is the placeholder. It's an access token to participate in play testing and co-creation of the other side. Each NFT depicts a plot of land that will be available in the other side with unique composition of natural elements. And we'll get into that here in a second, talking about the different plots of land and what they look like. Another good reason to go check out that second trip video of mine, I'm going to be showing you a couple of the different lands that they've built and how expanse and vast those look. It's pretty neat. All right, I like this. Bring their own outside collections to life with our metaverse. I love that. I love the ability to show off your collection within these worlds. I think that's a big way personally to bring outsiders in and see what is happening or see what your actual NFT collection looks like, because a lot of people still are, it can be really confusing for some people when they hear the term NFT or digital asset and they really wonder what it is, what's the benefit of it. I think if you can display your art, I think if you can show somebody something, it really helps tell this story. And I think there's going to be a lot that you can do within the other side outside of just gaming. That's just my opinion at this moment. Real incentives and support. So again, talking about community. All right, so the next section 3 here, Voyagers and Developers. This screenshot right here is actually from the first trip. It's pretty neat. You can see they're like playing live video. You have your 2 main host leaders, we'll call them, the coda. You got Curtis over here on the left, larger than everyone else's avatars. So this is just going to talk about the development of the other side. Voyagers and select developers are going to be the people accessing the platform. Not 100% right, because in this second trip they did allow us to invite 1 guest per wallet that owned land. So we know that's not 100% true right there. They are getting other people access, and I think that's smart because you want to start making other people aware of this and get outside eyes on the project. Open development. Talking about, again, we're going to be using users' feedback to help develop the experience. And I think a part of that is maybe having some uncertainty on where to take it. You need to be able to pivot in the Web3 space right now. I think that's really important as you see big market changes happening, whether that's just in the crypto token and coin space, whether that's on the NFT space, the metaverse side of things. You really need to be able to pivot and adapt to what you're seeing the market is most interested in, because you can do that, and you can do that when you're a market leader. You can actually be the person setting the course. So I think this is kind of important here when we talk about content moderation. When you have such a large potential audience, you're going to get bad actors. You're going to get people that want to take advantage of a platform like this, whether that's to scam people out of money, out of their digital assets, or just be a disruptor. Somebody coming in that wants to just curse out loud on the audio stream and, mess things up for other people. There are those bad actors out there. So this just talks about how they do want to make sure they can figure out the best way to moderate an open platform like this. So right here, the Voyager's journey, what you're staring at here is the OBLEISK, and this is broken down into parts. I can show you that when we hop back over into the actual NFTs. So this little section that's colored in up here, this is what people get for doing the first or second trip. It's called the first OBLEISK piece. And the goal will be to complete this on your NFT. What you get for doing that, we don't know. But right here you can see it says, participate in the journey, the narrative gameplay. Each major stage of the Voyager's journey is marked on the OBLEISK page. OBLEISK, and will be explained in more detail here. So let me just hop over to that page real quick. Right here, first trip, which is the tip. The first tech demo, the Otherside for Voyagers only, a celebration of what's to come, an opportunity for Voyagers to gather, explore, and plan. So this was from the first trip. Also the second trip, because they knew not everybody, when they set a day and a specific time, is going to be able to attend these events. So they were making it so that people on this second trip were getting this first OBLEISK piece. And something else to note, I did remember reading something. It didn't explicitly state that this is going to be going on for a while, but they did mention there's going to be multiple chances for people to always obtain this first Tris OBLEISK piece. Then below that, you got the codex, learn how to link your lands, and more in the Otherside codex, a living document co-written with the Voyagers. Remember, today's decisions bring possibilities and risks for the future of the Otherside, so tread carefully. Then you got Coda Origins, the decoupling, cosmic earthquake shakes up our universe, bringing with it a vision into the codas past and present. Codas, so you know, people, WTF is a coda? Nobody knows. But what we do know is that only 10,000 of the 100,000 lands came with a coda on those. They are assigned their own unique ID on those plots, and they fetch a lot higher of a price. The highest price, for the most part, that you're going to find for an Otherdeed piece of land is going to be one that comes with a coda. More to come on that. The growth, the lands of the Otherside rumble to life, generating resources, but destructive and invasive species also emerges. Heed the Codex, Voyager. Then we got the Agora, come together, buy, sell, barter, trade what you need, or craft new items from raw materials. Let us build, create, and innovate with each other. The Dream, an impossible arcade machine emerges at the center of the biogenic swamp. Use your trip wisely. Use your trip wisely. So one thing they're mentioning here, in the center of the biogenic swamp, the very center of the map for the Otherside, is where, and I could be wrong, the Bored Ape Yacht Club headquarters exists. So that might be also where the actual marketplace ends up being placed. The digital physical marketplace where you can actually show up to do your trading. That will be interesting to see as well. Then we have the choice, the settling, what lies beyond, what creatures call it home, and are they friends or foes? New lands activate and are available for Voyagers. It's time to choose a side. Everything that you read on this website is a teaser, is a hint, is some kind of alpha, if you really read into it. And that's just personal opinion, but that is what I think. It mentions new lands activate and are available for Voyagers. It's time to choose a side. What is the name of this project? The Otherside. There is a lot of talk that there are, and it's been mentioned that there are another 100,000 lands. The question is, when will those become available? Who will they become available to? Is it people that own current lands? Will you be able to access your exact plot of land on the other side of the map and it's completely different? Nobody knows. But we do know they say that people that are involved with the Otherside are going to be those that get access to these other lands. But when you read this, it's interesting. Nobody knows right now. We don't know if that's going to be a public mint to get those other lands. We don't know if it's going to be strictly just given to the people that own land right now. Lot of uncertainty. That's why I say when you read into some of these comments and this content on their website, you can start to pick apart this and take your own assumptions. The settling, the other side is what you want to make it. Voyagers take your resources and crafted items and create structures to populate your land. And the aeronauts, much of the other side is shrouded in mystery, but who knows what Voyagers might discover with a different perspective. The rift, an interdimensional rift cuts open the sky. Voyagers, it's time to fully explore. Choose your starting stats and skills. Your work on the OBLEISK is complete, but there is still much more to be done. So my thought is that this OBLEISK is going to be completely filled in before this game goes public. And through each of these steps, we're going to learn more and more of what can be achieved on these lands, what kind of experiences can be created, and it's going to be quite a journey. So let's hop back over. We just talked about the OBLEISK. We actually went through all of this to where we could see what some of these actual pieces look like. So we're going to go right past that, and we're going to hop right down in here and talk about the Otherside Development Kit. This is something I have not applied for to get access to, but I do think I'm going to, because I've done this with the sandbox. I've created my own experience in the sandbox. I went through an actual certification course to get that because I was just curious. I am going to be owning this land. I do own lands. What can I create out of these lands? I'm not just holding these to flip them for a higher price. I'm holding these lands with the intention, the expectation, the vision that this is going to become a globally used platform, not only for gamers, but business people. I'm in real estate. I deal with physical assets. Why wouldn't I be interested in checking out virtual real estate and what that could bring me in terms of passive cash flow, business opportunity? That is why I invested a small chunk of my personal investment funds, and some of that got spread into some of these Otherside lands, because who knows what's to come. But it's up to us, it's up to the users, it's up to companies, and it's up to other people to create these experiences. So let's talk a little bit more about that. All right, so new objects, open object standards. So the idea is to make items usable anywhere within the Otherside. I love that. I love the open world concept. We already talked about the M2 network, so they're the ones that are going to be really involved in making sure that, you know, everything from your audio and these items does fluidly work between this open world. Resources are things we will have to obtain. That's the exciting part right there. Authoring and manufacturing process. To do this, Voyagers collect resources from around Otherside, combine them with a template to create as many of that type of object as they'd like, so long as they have enough resources to do it. When it's been manufactured, it will be able to be used and interacted with in-game. That's awesome. Resources, imbuing. If you've played a lot of games in the past, you can start to feel how this is definitely an MMORPG type of game, just with the thought process. But the question is going to be, how is this used within an experience? I am excited to see this. All right, so the engine. I'm not going to go too much into this. You know, the basic idea is that everyone is going to be able to play the Otherside. We accessed this game through our Chrome browser. We did not have the ability to use Brave, Safari, any of those. It had to be through Chrome from my understanding. So right here, this is what's so neat. To allow thousands of Voyagers to gather in the same space at the same time. So far, the first trip had over 4,000 users. I'll let you watch my second trip video to see how many people joined the second trip, but they're allowing thousands of Voyagers to be in an area at the same time, access through your browser, not a game installed on your computer. And the goal is to be able to let people communicate and interact and do these things all together. And that, one of the thing right here, this spatial audio or spatial audio, however you want to pronounce it, so neat. I gotta say, if you haven't checked it out before, I know there's some games out there right now that do take advantage of it. First one that comes to mind would be Friday the 13th, like the newer version of that game that got released. It has this type of audio where when something's closer to you, it's louder, it's more audible. When something's further away, you hear more of a murmur, you hear it distant, it's not as clear. It is so neat when I was in the second trip to hear that working with that many people. Yes, it can be a little chaotic in certain zones, but my first impressions of it, I was super impressed. So that's what M2's doing. They're the ones behind the scenes, which I think might be the hardest part of this entire process of creating this, is how to make it where you can have thousands of people in an area and you don't just have a server crash and boom, everyone's out. Access from any device. This part, I don't know how they're going to do this. You know, obviously our phones these days are basically mini computers, but I don't know how they're going to get everyone to be able to access the Otherside from multiple devices. To me, it is the biggest challenge. You can see what they're wanting to achieve here. See everybody and interact in a dense crowd and what they're doing real time, all with a good frame rate. Be able to visualize each of their unique characters based upon NFT equipment and clothing at a quality that makes everyone and everything look great. Agree with that. And hear everybody around you cheers and roars just like you would in a festival or concert. I mean, that right there is what keeps me interested in the Otherside. It's what they just talked about, because these are things that have not really been achieved in games. Yes, games that you download, and games these days with good graphics, just more and more space they're taking. You can download games right now for your PC that require 100 gigs of space. It's a little bit ridiculous. So for me to be able to hop into this without having a single thing installed on my computer besides my browser and the hardware of my computer, I love it. I love the idea of being able to play this anywhere, pick it up and play. We're not going to talk about that challenge. We're not going to talk about the audio anymore. We're not going to talk about that. Let's hop right back in here into the Agora. This is the planned marketplace. We can't go too much into detail because we don't know much about it, but the idea is that there is going to be a global marketplace for people to buy, sort, find, trade, sell items. I don't know if that's going to be just NFTs dedicated, but you might even be able to sell an NFT that's not even related to the Otherside. Let's say I own a Doodles, or let's say I own a Chromie Squiggles piece of art NFT, and maybe I want to display that in the other side and offer somebody the ability to buy it. That could be something that happens through their marketplace. I think it's going to be more of a marketplace based on the resources from within the other side. That's just my opinion. And then the items that can be created from those resources might also be able to get sold. But who knows? This could be an open world where almost every single thing you're looking at has the ability to be purchased or traded or sold. I think my concern, and what a lot of people would be concerned about, is how are you going to make something like this safe, where people continue to not be able to get scammed? And, that could flow into the use of this right here, which is ApeCoin. So ApeCoin, I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, or towards the beginning of the video. This is an ERC20 governance utility token controlled by and built on by the ApeCoin DAO community. The ApeCoin DAO membership is open to all ApeCoin holders, and the token is available on major exchanges. So I've got CoinMarketCap pulled up here. I just want to show you ApeCoin number 38 right now. So it's sitting at $4.15. When this token was dropped, I want to say it started out around $9. Let's go to all. Look at that. $13 in the first, day of trading. And then it was averaging between $9 and $13. This craziness right here, see that? April 28th, that was the release of Otherside. So that's why we had this spike. People were accumulating so they'd be able to use their ApeCoin to purchase these lands. And then there was a massive drop right after that. But remember what I told you? Bored Ape Yacht Club holders received 10,000 ApeCoin. At the time, their ape NFTs were already worth over 50 Ethereum. So they already had like $100,000 in value, if not higher, like 150, 200,000 in value per Bored Ape that they own. So check this out. If you owned just one single Bored Ape, you got 10,000 ApeCoin. When that first came out, let's see, you had 318. You had yourself about a month and a half to unload this ApeCoin around that $10 price point. $100,000, folks. That's right. You were airdropped $100,000 by Yuga Labs if you owned a Bored Ape, which would have cost you around $1,000 to mint had you actually bought. I think it might have been around $400 to mint a Bored Ape. I'm just showing you the power of this specific project and what they've done. Obviously, the token is down a lot right now. But still, we're hovering around $4, so we know that equals 40,000. Yeah, you're not doing too bad if you got into the Bored Ape Yacht Club towards the beginning, if you got this ApeCoin. But what we're talking about, though, is ApeCoin being used for this marketplace and the other side. I think it's going to be what they do. It'll be interesting to see what other tokens, if they allow USDC, if they allow Ethereum or any other type of token to be used to make these purchases. But it looks like there is a good chance that they're going to push people into ApeCoin, which will be interesting to see what that does to this. We are in a bear market right now. I do think we're going to see ApeCoin go up over the next year or two. I think it's going to be a challenge to see this go up even in a bull market that much. Until the other side starts to have actual tangible benefits. As of right now, while we're in this test server stage, I think it could be the time that you're accumulating ApeCoin. If you just look over the course, the lowest it ever got to was $2.88. So around this $3 to $4 price point is the perfect time you could be buying ApeCoin. Not financial advice. You can learn more about ApeCoin at apecoin.com. All right, so looking forward, again, this is another picture from the first trip. That's a coda you're looking at right there. This is a Bored Ape named Curtis that you're staring at right there. Expect continual updates of this document as it evolves from a LitePaper to the first version of the Codex V1. So there you go. That is us covering the actual LitePaper. Now what I want to do, I want to show you the actual Otherdeeds. So these are the 5 Otherdeeds that I own right now. When you're shopping the marketplace like OpenSea right here, what you're going to see on the left-hand side, which my head is covering, these are your attributes. These are all the different attributes that are part of these Otherdeeds. Some of them are just like when you see here the coda, that's breaking down the actual coda into other attributes that you can search. But when you go into one of these, I'll show you real quick on actual OpenSea. I'll make this picture larger. You can see here we have artifact, northern resource, eastern resource, coda, western resource, southern resource. So pretty simple. You got these 6 attributes listed. Coda and artifacts are more unique items, and then each resource can be unique dependent on where it's located. Outside of that, you have the actual plot number. The higher the number, the further outside of the map you are. The closer you get to the center, where the actual headquarters of Bored Ape Yacht Club are, will be lower. So for instance, 1 through 20 might circle the actual marketplace. Plots 1 through 9,999 are going to be owned by Bored Ape Yacht people. Those will be the closest to the center of the map, and then it gets on and on and on. So basically starting at 30,001 plot land, those are going to be more the ones that were sold to the public, where the others were reserved for the actual Mutant Ape and Bored Ape holders. So you can see, if you're just looking at some of mine right now, you can look at the very bottom of this piece right here. This is the cool thing on the Otherside site. If you actually click on yours, it's going to turn it around and show you the OBLEISK. So as soon as the metadata updates from the second trip, you're going to see the top of mine. This part is going to be filled in. As of right this second, it isn't. But the more you study these, the more you'll like kind of learn what the looks are and what comes on these. Again, we don't know a whole lot about the information of what's coming on these at this time. What we do know is what can be more unique on these just based on how they've been selling. And for instance, we know a Coda, there's only 10,000 of those. Those are fetching the highest price. I'll show you what a Coda looks like on one of these, just so you can get a little idea. It looks like a fun little monster person that are on these. So I'm gonna click on this one. And you can see this is the lowest priced Coda owned piece of land right here. Is going for 12.5 Ethereum, which is 22,000 US dollars right now. But here you go. You can see one sitting right there in the very center. That's what they look like. And of course they are all unique. They all have different attributes themselves. But that's what they look like. Then I'd say one of the next most popular things you're gonna see on some of these is gonna be an artifact. So if I click on one of these, I still have that Coda selected, so that's why you're seeing it at this type of price. There's a lot of different types. So if we drop this down, you can see there's 74 different ones listed. I have it set right now just to yes. Let's turn Coda off. So you can see this is sitting at 1.84 as the lowest. And you can see they just have different types. They all have different names. At this point, we have no idea what that means, what their use is gonna be, but the assumption is gonna be, as we've already talked about, resources, that sort of thing, are gonna be able to use just to create other items, whether those are one-off items, multiple, we don't know yet. But just something to think about when you're shopping around and you're looking at those. When we look at northern resource, eastern, southern, western, that's all gonna apply to where you're actually getting this. You have everything from the 1, 2, and 3 dots per, assuming that when you have 3, you're just gonna get more of that resource maybe harvested off the land. We don't know much. There's a whole lot that we don't know, so it's all speculation at this point. But some people value other things more than others, when they are shopping around and looking at these assets. So let's bring this back around to just accessing everything that's going on right now. At the root of this, it's just owning one of these. It's gonna get you access to those trips. It's gonna get you access to just be one of the first people to see what's being released, to participate, and possibly even create. So if that's something you're interested in, I recommend checking one of these out. Again, not financial advice. So right here, I know we've talked about the developers kit a little bit. If you're on their page, you go to their last link that they list, there is a form right here that you can fill out to get access to their development kit. I recommend doing that if you are a designer, programmer, anyone that might benefit from getting first access into creating. I think that's a great way to get involved. All right, so here we are. We're clicking explore. I want to just quickly show you this map. It's spinning around. I got my mouse. I'm going to click into it. It's going to zoom us in, and this is what we talked about. This is the very center of the map right here. Scroll right in with my mouse, and here we go. Look, these are showing me the actual plots. So plot number 1. You click on that, it's going to load up this NFT right here, and you can see even the person with number 1 has not obtained the first trip. It's going to give you a tier. It's going to tell you what type of land it is. This is obsidian. It's going to let us go view it on OpenSea if we want. It's also going to give us the properties, the attributes listed below, and you can see every single one of these is different. It's not like they put all the codas together. They don't put every single resource together. One thing that is consistent is the very bottom of this image, which would be the sediment that this piece of land sits on. Those are all going to be the same. So 1 through 10,000, for instance, all are part of the biogenic swamp, and that's what they're all going to look like on the bottom of those. So if we go out a little bit further, this very first inner circle is the 1 through 10,000. The next two circles, you got up to 20,000. Let's see. So these next two outer bands go for the plots from 10,001 basically up to 30,000. If you, looks like a couple outside of 30,000 are in here as well. Again, we don't know what's good. We don't know if having a piece like this sitting by itself, let's just call it an island, is going to be good or not. But you can see the bottom of these, the 10 through 30,000 ones listed under chemical goo, and you can see what that looks like. It's got this like dripping goo look. So that's one thing that is consistent across these. But the more you study what these resources and everything look like, you're going to have to just determine for yourself what to you is something you'd like to obtain. I think using OpenSea is a great way just to see how unique some of these attributes are. And again, that's going to be personal opinion. What you value is more important than something else. For instance, you might value an artifact a lot more than a resource, or you might only want three tiered resources because you want to maybe be generating more than others. All of those things are going to affect the value to you and most likely to the market of what's creating value. You can see an artifact is getting you 0.4 more Ethereum in value than a non-artifact land. So that's up to you to check out. You can see here though, just looking at mine, a couple of the things that were important to me was right here, the tier of the actual land. You got these little stars. It's kind of hard to see sitting at the very top. I'll scroll in just a little bit so you can see it. You can see here 1 through 5. So each of these lands can have up to 5 stars. The more, and that's considered your environment tier. The higher that tier, the larger and more developed these lands are going to be. So that's something to me that's pretty interesting, because if I'm going to be creating on one of these, I'd like to have a huge piece of land that can be created on. I've got 2 right now that are listed as tier 4, and I got 1 that's a tier 5. My tier 5 does have an artifact sitting on it, and I've got a 3-starred resource. This one, actually, I'm sorry, I got 3 that are 4 stars. This one right here has luster, which is a little bit more of a unique resource when you look at the global amounts. This one also has a relic card on it. These 3 up here don't have artifacts, but this one is, you know, I was just trying to get different lands. I did want them to all have good tiers or at least good resources, so that's how I went about picking mine. For instance, this Moss Moon, and there being 3 of those. You know, Moss Moon is something that's a little bit more rare, so I wanted to make sure that even though I only had a tier 3, at least the resource was a little bit more unique as well. And then this one right here, I want to say was my very first one. I looked at the tier. That's really all I did to make sure it was something that I would be interested in. But that's how I picked all mine. I also did want to have something that was part of the chemical goo land, which are the ones owned by mutant ape holders. So I do have 2. I've got this one right here. You can tell just because it's a 16,000 and a 21,000, because we know anything between 10,001 and 30,000 is going to be a chemical goo. But that's going to wrap it up. That is going to be my Otherside overview for the time being. I'm pretty bullish on what the future looks like for the Otherside. I think you should check it out. Also, go check out the sandbox. I got videos on my YouTube channel here going over the sandbox as well, as I do own those lands. And I think it's completely different than this metaverse right now, and I think they can both be market leaders in terms of metaverses. So if you liked it, again, smash the like button, hit subscribe, come check out more videos, and hit next and check out the second trip, because that's going to be the video following up the other side here. Thanks for watching, and see you on the other side. We have just finished the second trip here. Pretty awesome. Can't wait to show you that footage. So make sure you watch the next video after this one if you'd like to see what the actual second trip looked like.